So, welcome once again to the new session of the Premiere Pro. Today we will continue with our ongoing chapter, the ecosystem. This is the lecture number 2. Today we will start from the energy flow and later continue with the trophic levels in the ecosystem as well as the detritus food chain, the grazing food chain and the standing crop and the standing state. Okay, so let's start with the energy flow. Start with the energy flow. Energy flow. This is the ecosystem lecture number 2. Ecosystem lecture 2. Okay. So what do you mean by the energy flow? Energy flow is termed as the flowing of the energy from one tropic level to the higher tropic level or the lower tropic level. Okay, so energy flow is generally unidirectional. Okay, so unidirectional flow of, you can write it, unidirectional flow from sun to producers and then to the consumers. Sun to producers and then to the consumers. Okay, in that case, the photosynthetic bacteria, the autotrophs generally, the photosynthetic bacteria, these are basically the autotrophs. Photosynthetic bacteria, the autotrophs. See, the photosynthetic bacteria gets the energy from the sun, and from the sun, the incident solar radiation, that is called the PAR, which is greater than the 50% is absorbed by the plants. Okay, and now the 10% of the PAR is the food. This is simple sugars. And sustain the entire world. Okay, now to the next topic, we go to the trophic levels in the ecosystem. The ecosystem have several trophic levels, and those are needed. Those were because these questions are generally seen. 1 to 2 questions generally comes from the trophic levels in the ecosystem, and those will make you some haphazard thinking in your mind at the time of examination, at the time of the pressure moments. So trophic levels in the ecosystem are generally trophic levels in an ecosystem. The trophic levels in an ecosystem, the amount of energy at successive trophic levels, amount of energy at the successive trophic levels. Only 10% of the energy is transferred. Only 10% of the energy is transferred to each trophic level. From the lower trophic level. Okay, from the lower. This question comes in Neet. This is a favorite question for the Neet exam setter. This question generally comes in the Neet. Okay, so now we are going to draw something. See, heterotrophs. What are the heterotrophs? There is 3 level. That is, it is called, the top level is the tertiary consumer. The second is called the secondary consumer. And the first is the primary consumer. Okay, these are the three consumer level. Okay, now from where the consumer gets the food, the nutrients, the energy, they get the foods, the nutrients, and energy from the producers. So primary producer, it is the autotroph. Now for the tertiary consumer, it is the fourth trophic level. That is the T4, and it is also called the secondary consumer, secondary carnivores basically. Okay, now for the secondary consumer, the secondary consumer is the third or T3 trophic level, or the primary carnivores. This is where you get puzzled at the time of examination. Primary carnivores are the secondary consumers, and the secondary carnivores are the tertiary consumers. Okay. Now, in the case of the primary consumer, we will known as the secondary trophic level. It is the secondary trophic level where it is the T2 herbivores. Okay, now for the primary producer, it's a T1 trophic level, where the green plants are situated. This is the green plants. Now, from the energy is transferred from the trophic level 1 to the trophic level 2 in case it is the land ecosystem. Now, for the terrestrial ecosystem, okay, I am writing it here. Okay, for the case of the terrestrial ecosystem, we see and if it's the aquatic ecosystem, in the case of the terrestrial ecosystem and the aquatic ecosystem, what do we see in the terrestrial ecosystem? In the tertiary level, that is in the T4 level, we see the man, lion. In the T3 level, we can see birds, wolf. In the T2 level, we can see insects, birds, mammals. And at the T1 level, we see the herbivorous, woody plants. Okay, the energy is shifted from here to here. Now, on the aquatic ecosystem, the large fishes are seen in the T4 level. Large fishes. Okay, in the T2 level, it's the fishes. In the T1, it is zooplanktons, molluscas, and here it is algae, phytoplanktons, and higher plants. Now we come to the next topic. It is the detritus food chain. It's the detritus food chain. That is, we call the DFC. Detritus food chain, or the DFC. The detritus food chain begins. This is the only food chain that begins with the dead organic matter. Begins with dead organic matter, made up of decomposers, which heterotrophic organism, mainly fungi and the bacteria, Okay. In a terrestrial ecosystem, a much larger fraction of energy flows through the DFC to the GFC. Flows through the DFC, then through the GFC. In the case of the grazing food chain, grazing food chain is also called a GFC. In the case of the grazing food chain, what do we see? A sun is the source of energy. Sun is the source of energy. Autotrophs assimilate food using simple inorganic materials and radiant solar energy. In an aquatic ecosystem, the GFC is the major conduct of the energy flow. Now come to the standing crop and the standing state. What do you mean by the standing crop? Standing crop. Each trophic level has a certain certain mass of the living material. Each trophic level has certain amount of living material at a certain amount of time. Measurement of the biomass in terms of dry weight is more accurate. Measurement of biomass in terms of dry weight is more accurate. Now, what is the standing state? A standing state is the amount the organism need a constant supply. Organism need constant supply of nutrients to grow. Reproduce and regulate various body functions. It also varies. It varies in different kinds of ecosystem and also on a seasonal basis. Okay. So these are the things that we generally been asked in the NEET examination. So I will complete the whole thing by the next lecture. I am keeping up to here for today. On the next lecture, we can see the ecological pyramids, the pyramid of number the pyramid of biomass, the pyramid of energy that is being asked in the examination. And this is the very important topic for the examination too, the pyramids of energy that is always seen upright. Okay. Now the ecological succession, what is the ecological succession, what is the primary succession and what is the secondary succession had also been asked in the examination. The limitations of the economical pyramids as well as the nutrient cycle. So several names of the bacteria are being asked as a nutrient cycle. Those who are the nitrifying bacteria, denitrifying bacteria are being asked in the examination as well in the options. So I'll say that please go on through this topic from the NCERT. Basically the questions from the NCERT are being asked from these chapters, and please go through the videos of this chapter from my channel, and please share and subscribe and like this channel. Obviously I will give this video on the next lecture, and by the next lecture I'll complete this chapter. Okay, till then, thank you and good night.